Okay, so all of the chat that you had, I mean, everything you had said, and then what I said is gone. All I see is I'm here. So I don't know about that. But I'm glad you're here. I don't know what happened. Okay, so I know Carol had talked about my niece. So or had said something about her. Um, I mean, it should still be there. Maybe whenever. I mean, it wasn't a lot, so we haven't. I mean, I know what you said, but about Julie. It seems like every day we're getting good news. Um, she is no longer septic. I can't remember if I put that up on my community tab or not. But she's no longer septic. She's still on antibiotics. She's off of the blood pressure medication. She is, I want to say they put her on steroids or took her off. Let me make sure. Let me make sure before I say, because I don't want to say something that's not right. Um, they're weaning her off of steroids. That's what they're doing. They haven't taken her off completely. And they're increasing her nutrients, and but they're keeping her sedated because she's in so much pain, and they don't want her to hurt. Plus, whenever you're sleeping, you heal faster. So she's 11 days old. So, but let's see, what else is there? The ventilator, they took her off that. I don't remember if I put that on my community tab or not, but they still have it there just in case. But she is off the ventilator. Her blood work has looked good every day. It's looking good. She is still going to have another surgery at 6 to 8 weeks. It's according to how much her body heals before then, because the infection she had did cause problems with her intestines. She has had one surgery already, and that's when they found that it was more extensive than what they had thought, from what I understand. Her parents had to go home because they have three older children, and so that's very difficult for them. I know it is, even though I'm not them. I just know it is. But they had to go home so they could give the other children a little bit of normality or normalcy. What's the word? I don't know. Uh, but they are going to be going back and forth on weekends. And also, David had to get back to work. They were threatening his job and things. So he had to get back to work, which I don't know anything about that right now. I haven't heard anything since Sunday about his job, which is pretty horrible if they fired him because his baby's in the NICU. I mean, that's crazy. And he works for the city where he lives, where they live. They actually live 2 hours from me, and the hospital is an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes from me the other way. So they are 3 hours and maybe 4 hours almost from the hospital that their baby's in. So that is very difficult, I know. His David's mother, they could have four people to be with her. Of course, the two of them, so the parents, and then they could have two more. Well, I had three of their babies. I mean, the way it worked out, David's mother was able to go stay with Julie when they're not there. And whenever David's mother is not there, his brother is there, who lives there and works at the hospital. Not in the, he doesn't work in the children's part, but he does work in the hospital, like right there is connected. The hospitals are for like adults and then children. So his brother is a nurse practitioner, so I think he'd be one of the best ones to be there with her. So everything is getting better every day. We're hearing good news, which we're very grateful for. And just keep praying, because that's all we can do at this point. I mean, that's all we can do with any of the things. So just keep praying for her, praying for her parents. Um, as of now, Judy's okay. Judy's three oldest are from another marriage. So the oldest one loves to come here. So on weekends, he will be here with us. And every other weekend, the two younger ones, the middle ones, will be going to their daddies like they normally would. And on the weekends, they're not with him, they'll be with me. So as far as I know, that's how things are going to go. So I'll have three kiddos here part of the time for the next little while, and that's fine. It's like Friday through Sunday, they'll be here, unless there's like a holiday or something like that David is off work. So that's, I think, all the updates I have on Judy, David, and Julie, and Marcus, Jacob, and Sarah, the whole family. There's 4 kids and 2 parents, but that's all I have about them. And then that, I guess that's all. But I want to talk a little bit. I mean, we're already 7 minutes in. I'm not going to go over Phineas from last time. I believe that was the last one that we did. It's the last one I have written down, and I think it's the last live stream I did. It's been a while since I did a live stream because of everything going on, and then because of Jeff was off work, and whenever he's off work, I want to spend time with him. And my eyes look super red to me. Are they red? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I have not slept well because whenever I have good news, I don't sleep well. When I have bad news, I don't sleep well. It's the brain. It decides to stay awake. And that's fine. It says you can't rest right now. And that's quite all right. But let's go ahead and get into this Bible study. And this is going to be one that's going to be more than just today. And if you notice, I'm talking about harvest. Well, whenever I was making, which this is tiny, and it's backwards. Is it going to focus? No. It doesn't want to focus. It doesn't matter. Oh, cool. Anyway, I make a scripture writing plan every month, and I share that with anyone who wants to have a copy of it. This is just a black and white copy that I accidentally printed too small when I was just playing around with different sizes and printing it out, so that maybe I could like make it into a sticker and stick it into my in my scripture writing planner. I was just playing around trying to see how I could do it, and I ended up making it too small. But when I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to do this scripture writing plan on for October? And I was praying about it, and I was thinking about it, and I was just, every single time that I would think about it, the word harvest kept coming to my mind. And then I was like, okay, I'm just doing harvest. And I found, oh goodness, it's right here. I just used my little Bible study tools and looked up the word harvest, and I have pages, way more than 31 scriptures with the word harvest in it. Just pages of harvest. So I decided, okay, I'll pick the 31, and that's what I'll do. That's what I normally do. I'll pick the 31 from the subject that I want to use, and I will make the Bible study or the scripture writing plan. Then, during this time, with all this going on, I knew that I was not going to be able to do last week's, but I had wanted to do a Bible study on harvest then. because it just keeps coming to my mind. Now, it could be because it's harvest season, it's fall and people are getting, gathering the harvest and all that stuff. It could be that. It could be because I believe the church is being persecuted a lot right now, for sure. I mean, if just today, I didn't read it all, but I saw an article where a pastor in Canada is being put in jail for, I think, 6 years is what it said, for having church outside. Makes no sense. Now, I don't know for sure if that's exactly what it was. I don't even remember where I saw that at. It's just like, you see all these things. Well, anyways, the church is being persecuted. It has been for years, but it seems to be more right now. Maybe it's just because we see it more, because we have all the social media and we have all the news outlets and we have all these things that we can see. And people can get in touch with each other like this. It's maybe that kind of thing. But the church is being persecuted. The Bible said it would be persecuted. So I know that if you go back in history of the church, you'll see where that there is a time where that I believe so, Donna. I know it had something to do with the restrictions in Canada. I know that. That's all I'm going to say about that part. I know it had something to do with that, because he was breaking their restriction rules. But we're meant, okay, the Bible says we are to follow man's law, but only if it does not violate God's law. Why does this thing keep focusing in and out? I'm getting blurry every few seconds, or maybe it's just my eyeballs. I don't know. Yep, did it again. But anyway, that's not even what the study is about. I just know that, Canada is tough. They've got a lot of stuff. I used to think, oh, it's so beautiful there. Nope, I would not try to live there now. Nope. But anyway, harvest kept coming to mind. So I sat down and I started I started searching online, and then I was like, I don't see anything I want to talk about. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff that other people have done, but then I was like, I don't really see anything here that I want to talk about that has anything to do with harvest. So I started pulling out the old books. Just what I do. But I started pulling that out, and I mainly used, hey, you know how it is in Canada. You know what's going on up there. But I used my eSword Bible app on the computer to start doing some search, and then just started looking up stuff in my dictionary and commentary, and then I pulled out another dictionary. So anyway, y'all know I love my books. I have lots of books. And I don't even know if you could ever get this one. I got it from a yard sale, I think. It's from 1974. So that means it's older than me. Your brother-in-law lives there. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to read some of my notes. And I'm going to read my notes because that's lately my mind has been everywhere. It just wanders. And me and Jeff will be having a conversation. I'm doing it now. Jeff and I will be having a conversation, and I start talking about something else, which is just what I just did. So I will be looking at my notes and the things today for sure. And I may or may not go off from those because this is important. But like I said, this is going to be a continuing for a few weeks anyways. I don't know how long, but a few weeks. This subject is something I want to talk about. Okay, so the first thing I wrote down whenever I was thinking about harvest, I said, when we talk about harvest, I think we first need to talk about property. We need to know who the property we are planting and nurturing and harvesting from belongs to. So that brought me to Leviticus. yeah, a squirrel. Squirrel. So that brought me to Leviticus And whenever I may or may not be able to see. Let me pop up that I can see what you guys are saying, but I can't see what I'm doing. But it brought me to Leviticus and let me see if I can get that to do correctly. There we go. And it brought me to Matthew Henry's commentary. So whenever I went to his commentary, I went to where that it's talking about the land, because that's where we need to think about who's this land belong to. Because yes, we own this tiny little plot that we have as long as we pay the bank. This little spot where our house is, we own it, kind of. But honestly, all the land belongs to God. So no, we don't own it. But Leviticus 25:23 says, the land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And I was thinking, we are strangers here. Christians are strangers in this land. We are not normal. A lot of times we're called crazy or insane. I've been called. That might be true. But we're just visiting. We're not here for good. We're not supposed to be here for good. So whenever I was thinking about that and I was looking at that scripture, I thought, well, what does Leviticus 25, because it's 25:23 is where I got that scripture, what does it say about the land? What is going on with it? I need my Bible. I don't put that back over there. What is it saying about the land? I don't understand. God is telling them, we're just sojourners. We're just here for a little while. That's what you're here for, is a little while. So, like I said, I was looking at Matthew Henry's commentary on my eSword app, and I looked up Leviticus 25, and it says, the law of this chapter concerns the lands. I went ahead and printed it off. And estates of the Israelites in Canaan, and occupying and transferring of which were to be under the divine direction, as well as the management of religious worship. For as the tabernacle was a holy house, so Canaan was a holy land. And upon that account, as much as anything, it was the glory of all lands. In token of a peculiar title which God had to this land, and a right to dispose of it, he appointed one, that every 7th year should be a year of rest from occupying the land, a sabbatical year. So that is Leviticus 25:1. Selena made me a heart, and I put it in here and I forgot. Okay, let's go over here. I flipped over there and I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, Leviticus 25:1-7. And I'm reading from, which one is this today? The Holman Christian Standard Bible. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when you enter the land I am giving you, the land will observe a Sabbath to the Lord. You may sow your field for 6 years, and you may prune your vineyard and gather its produce for 6 years. But there will be a Sabbath of complete rest for the land in the 7th year, a Sabbath to the Lord. You are not to sow your field or prune your vineyard. You are not to reap what grows by itself from your crop, or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. It must be a year of complete rest for the land. Whatever the land produces during the 7th year can be food for you, for yourself, your male and female slaves, and the hired hand or foreigner who stays with you. All of its growth may serve as food for your livestock and wild animals in your land. So whenever I first, years ago when I first read that, I was like, wait a minute, if they don't plant, this was before I read all that, before I got to 5, 6, and 7. I was like, well, if they don't plant, they don't eat, because they don't have grocery stores. That was my thought. Now, since I can remember, my daddy had me in the garden my whole life until he was, even up until the point where he got to the point where he couldn't grow a garden anymore. But up to that point, I would be in his garden some. After I was an adult, I had my own. Sorry, I had to have a drink of water. Now, I'm not a professional gardener. If you've watched any of my garden videos, you know that. But I know how to plant. I know the way it works, kind of. And I know different plants work in different places. Like, I can't grow certain kinds of fruit because it's too hot here. Certain kinds of trees and things like that, they may grow, but they'll be stunted. Then there's other fruits and stuff that I can't grow because it's not the right temperature, it's not the right humidity. I know that there are things I can and can't grow. And there are actually things that I can't grow, it seems, like squash, which I've tried. I think we've tried it for the last 3 years and have had no fruit from it. We just wasted time and money. But we love squash, so we tried. Well, there are things that I grew an hour away from here when I lived an hour from here that I can't grow here. The soil is different. We have prairie soil, which is what it's called, and it's very, whenever it's wet, like when it's rainy, like it's been a lot lately, it's like mushy, boggy, soggy, gross. Okay, weird. Never had soil like this before in my life. When it's not raining much, it's like dry, cracked, just awful. And I have learned since moving here that most of the homes here have foundation damage or something like that because of the way it settles. And it's pretty bad whenever a whole city has problems. Secret on Squash Hill is 3 seeds to a hill. Yeah, I can get them to grow to a certain point. They'll be beautiful. If you look at my videos, you'll see that my plants were beautiful, and then all of a sudden they just die. I don't understand it. And it's happened the same exact way for like 3 years. Now, I can get eggplant to grow. I can get tomatoes and peppers to grow. But squash, So we've decided to just buy squash from the farmer's market. It's not bugs. It's not bugs because we check them all the time. I don't know what it is. But we're not the only ones that can't get squash to grow here. There are other people that cannot get squash to grow here. Now, I have thought about trying them in buckets to see if I can get them to work in soil that's not this soil. But anyway, I had some thoughts while I was studying all this about the first part of Leviticus. And this is just what I wrote down. If you've ever planted a garden and then left that spot alone, you will notice what I call volunteer plants come up the next year. And that is exactly what, let's see, verse 6 is talking about. Whatever the land produces during the Sabbath year can be food for you, for yourself and your male and female slaves and hired hands and foreigners who stay with you. We had raised beds and it still didn't work. We did all kinds of stuff. We had we brought soil in, like, we've composted, we brought in other soil. Actually, I'm going to be talking about some of the things we amended it with in a minute. But then I kept writing. I wrote, if you continue to work that land year after year, you will notice that the plants don't grow as well. They don't have the nutrients they need, so you have to amend the soil. You have to add bone meal, blood meal, nitrogen, and other nutrients that would build back up if left alone, because plants weren't using it all. So if you leave the soil alone, naturally that will build back up. Because every time that you plant something and then you pull it up and then you plant. Now, if it's an annual, I'm talking about that, not perennials. Perennials are different. You plant them and you leave them alone, or you prune them and stuff. But plants that are just put in and taken out every year, they start leaching from the soil. All right, and so then I put on down here, some have decided to rotate crops to keep this from happening as often, but almost always they have to make amendments. So even if you rotate your crops, even like you put corn one year, then you put peanuts another. Yes, I test my soil every year, Carol. Actually multiple times a year I have it tested. It's just not good soil, and we're not the only ones. The only way we got anything to grow here is by bringing in other topsoil and bringing in compost and making our own compost eventually. That is the only way we've gotten anything to grow. And we started out with raised beds, and then we went on to that spot had so much good soil by then that it worked out to where it would grow. But let's see, where was I at? So God did make provision, and if like I was saying, if you leave a spot alone, you'll have the volunteer plants come up. And I know that there's a lot of people that have said, oh, well, I had a volunteer tomato and look at all these tomatoes it made. And, you'll still have good crop, but it won't be as good as if you planted. But then if you don't let that soil rest, no plants will grow. And it's just like it's overworked. Just like if we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, we will eventually work ourselves to the point where we have worn out our bodies. Like Jeff, he has repetitive work. Well, he still does, but it's a different work now than what at the other department he was on. But the department he was on before, I don't know if you guys remember, he had to have elbow surgery. He's got a scar there because of it. His work, it just kept repeating in the same thing, and that the things just wore out. They just wear out. So over time, whenever you repeat things and you repeat it, things are going to wear out. Just like right now, with all the things going on, all these sins that are being repeated, all these things, it's like it's building to where that it's getting worse and it's worse and it's worse and it's worse, and there's new things, and now they're throwing things at our children, and they're like trying to indoctrinate our children and stuff and make them believe that certain things are okay when they're not. And you just keep on doing the same thing, everything is going to wear out. So God had commanded them to leave the soil alone. Just leave it alone for a year. So for 6 years, they planted, they harvested, they did all the things they needed to do. And then the 7th year was a year of rest for the grounds, for they still harvested from the things that grew, but they didn't go out and prune the vines for their grapes. They didn't do things with their olive trees. They didn't prune anything. And if you don't prune, things won't grow properly. But if you prune too much, they won't grow properly either. So God was saying, slow down, take this year off, let the grounds rest, and let it go for a year. But I'm still going to feed you. That's my interpretation of that. And then I'm going to go on. It says, in this, God expected from them extraordinary instances of faith and obedience. And they might expect from God extraordinary instances of power and goodness in providing for them. So Leviticus 18 through 20, no, Leviticus 25, 18 through 22 says, you are to keep my statutes and ordinances and carefully observe them so that you may live securely in the land. Then the land will yield its fruit so that you can eat, be satisfied, and live securely in the land. I'm supposed to go to 22. Okay. If you wonder, what will we eat in the 7th year if we don't sow and gather our produce? I will appoint my blessing for you in the 6th year so that it will produce a crop sufficient for 3 years. When you sow in the 8th year, you will be eating from the previous harvest. So you will be eating this until the 9th year when its harvest comes in. So what God is saying is, if you do what I say in the 6th year, you will be gathering 3 years worth of provision. That's all it takes, is for us to just do what he says, and he's going to triple the blessing. That's what I see that as. Now, I'm not saying that everything is going to work out that way. I'm saying the Bible says right there, If you wonder what we eat in the what will we eat in the seventh year if we don't sow and gather our produce, I will appoint my blessing for you in the sixth year, so that it will produce a crop sufficient for 3 years. Now, I see that in the United States and other places too, but I live here, so I can talk about here. This country has gotten more and more sinful. This country has gotten more and more in debt. This country has gotten worse and worse with everything that is totally against God. And we're not reaping the benefits because we're not doing what God says. And I just feel that's, one reason we're not harvesting, why we're not getting more souls, winning more souls, as they used to say. I don't know, they probably still say it, but we're not able to reap the benefits that God has given us. And I'm not talking about individually. I know for a fact, if you do what God says, your life will be better. It's not going to be perfect. God never told us life will be great. God never told us that life was going to be perfect. We will all suffer. We will all have issues going on. That is just how it is. But if we do what God says, if nothing else happens, we will have peace. Because I can say during this time, and I know I am not the one who had the baby early. I'm not the one who has a baby in the NICU. I'm not the one with a baby in the hospital. But I've had peace through it. Because this is my baby sister. And I just feel differently about my baby sisters. I don't know if it's maybe because I'm their big sister. I don't know what it is, but especially this one. But I have had peace that her baby will be okay, that God is going to take care of her. And he has. He's been doing so many things. In the last few days, there's just been so many miracles. And I just feel like because we have been obeying God, because Judy and David have obeyed God, their baby will be okay. But no matter what, we'll have peace. That's right, Val. We'll have victory and peace in the day to day. Like, I know I've cried. I know I have been upset. I know there's been time, but there's also been tears of joy. Like yesterday, I'm sitting here and I'm crying because of all the different things that people have spoken to my life since this has happened, and people have encouraged me. And it's not my baby, but still, it's my family. And it's all scary no matter what. But no matter what, if we obey God, he will give us what we need. And he's saying there, if you follow what I say, I'll triple it. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen in every instance because I'm not God and I don't make the rules. I just read the rules. So that was just very, very big to me. So the second point that was made is that every 50th year should be a year of... Oh, I wanted to wait on this part. Let's just go ahead and talk about it some, because I haven't studied the year of Jubilee a lot. I know I've studied it before, and but it's been a while and I don't remember a lot. But there was actually a song. What is her name? I wanted to say her last name was Jacobs. Let's the song is called Days of Elijah, and her name is Judy Jacobs. That song, every time I hear anything about Jubilee, that song comes to my mind. But let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit. But just know that I haven't studied it yet. That every 50th year should be a year of Jubilee. That is, 1, a year of release of debts and mortgages in return to the possession of their alienated lands, which is Leviticus 25, 8 through 17. It says, you are to count 7 sabbatical years, 7 times 7 years, so that the time period of the 7 sabbatical years amounts to 49. Then you are to sound a trumpet loudly in the 7th month. On the 10th day of the month, you will sound it throughout your land on the Day of Atonement. You are to consecrate the 50th year and proclaim freedom in the land for all its inhabitants. It will be your jubilee, when each of you is to return to his property, and each of you to his clan. The 50th year will be your jubilee. You are not to sow, reap what grows by itself, or harvest its untended vines. It is to be holy to you, because it is the jubilee. You may only eat its produce directly from the field. Now, later on is whenever it talks about the 3 years. The year of Jubilee is whenever you're going to need that 3-year provision. But let's see, how far is I supposed to go? 17. Okay. In this year of Jubilee, each of you will return to his property. If you make a sale to your neighbor or a purchase from him, do not cheat one another. If you are to make the purchase from your neighbor based on the number of years since the last Jubilee, he is to sell to you based on the number of remaining harvest years. You are to increase its price in proportion to the greater amount of years, and decrease its price in proportion to the lesser amount of years, because what he is selling to you is a number of harvest. You are not to cheat one another, but fear your God, for I am Yahweh your God. So what it's saying is you are to prorate your sale of the land. If you sell somebody something, don't sell it full price. Sell it only for what it's worth with the harvest. Like if I could make $5 off of it, but in 50 years I could only make $2 off of it, you only sell it to me for $2. That's my simplistic way of saying. I think it's amazing how 7 is a number of completion for us all, is forgiven for us at our completion into glory. Yes, 7 numbers are important, not numerology, but numbers are important to God. Very important. So that's talking about the year of Jubilee. Let's see. And talking about selling and buying property. That and he very much believed, do not cheat someone, do not overprice something, no price gouging, which is what happens all the time whenever there's a crisis. Have y'all noticed that? So much. So the next part is concerning the sale or redemption of lands, Leviticus 25, 23 through 28. The land is not to be permanently sold, because it is mine. That's God talking. It is mine. Big M he put in there, or well, the people who printed this Bible. And you are only foreigners and temporary residents in my land. You are to allow the redemption of the land you occupy. If your brother becomes destitute and sells part of his property, his nearest relative may come and redeem this as what his brother has sold. Where was I supposed to go? 28. If a man has no family redeemer, but he prospers and obtains enough to redeem his land, he may calculate the years since its sale, repay the balance to the man he sold it to, and return to his property. But if he cannot obtain enough to repay him, what he sold will remain in possession of its purchaser until the year of Jubilee. It is to be released at the Jubilee so that he may return to his property. So what it is a kinsman redeemer, like you hear about in Ruth, when Boaz is her kinsman redeemer, which she had another one, but he chose to not marry her and be her redeemer. So I think it's Boaz. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Today is not the day to be trying to do things like remember who was what in the Bible. That's sad. I'm not perfect. I'm just trying. I sometimes get names wrong, though. Point 2 is of houses in cities and villages with a proviso of Levite cities. So I think I said that right. That word right. There's a provision. I don't know what that word is supposed to even mean exactly. I know what it means, but I don't know how to explain it. Do y'all do that sometimes? Let me see. Leviticus 25, 29 through 34. If a man sells a residence in a walled city, y'all know that back then there was walls around cities. Um, don't know why there's not walls now sometimes, but we don't have walled cities here. There still are walled cities in places though. His right of redemption will last until the year has passed after its sale. His right of redemption will last a year. If it is not redeemed by the end of the full year, then the house in the walled city is permanently transferred to its purchaser throughout his generations. It is not to be released on the Jubilee. So that means any property inside the walls of the city, if you don't purchase it back to whoever you sold it to in the proper amount of time, you don't get it back. The family line is changed in that situation. So that's like there's different people who have property that has been passed down from generation to generation. Well, that still happens today where people will pass it down, but then later on, the one generation will say, this doesn't mean anything to me. I'm selling it. I can make money, and they'll sell it. Well, in this situation, if someone could buy it back to get it back into their family line, they were allowed to do that for a certain amount of time. But in the wild cities, you never got it back if you did not do it in a certain amount of time. But if it was not in the wall, if it was outside, if it was in the country, it's my way of saying things, then you got it back at the year of Jubilee. Okay, so where was I at? I'm supposed to be reading to 34. I only got to 30. If it is not redeemed by the end of the... Oh, I did get to 30. 31. But houses in villages that have no walls around them, I just said this, okay, are to be classified as open fields. The right to redeem such houses stay in effect, and they are to be released at the Jubilee. Concerning the Levitical cities, the Levites always had the right to redeem houses in the city they possess. Now, you know, Levites are different. They were different. They were, I want to say more holy, but I don't know if that's right. Is that right? I don't know. But they had a right to get their property back no matter what. Let's see. Whatever property one of the Levites can redeem, the household in the city they possess must be released at the Jubilee, because the houses in the Levitical cities are their possession among the Israelites. The open pasture land around their cities may not be sold, for it is the permanent possession. There was a news piece of land that was inherited in FEMA. I think this is the way it went. They can't prove it is their land, so can't claim anything from FEMA. Oh my goodness, that's horrible. That's crazy. But, I mean, I almost spit water everywhere. That would have been embarrassing. If you think about it, there's a lot of land that probably is not claimed, even though people own it. I mean, somebody owns every bit of... I did spit water all over myself. Y'all, don't look. Let's hide. Okay, so let's stop being a weirdo. I don't know. I'm in a goofy mood today, maybe because we got good news again today. So I'll try to keep going. There's land all over the place that people don't know belongs to them. And so they don't claim it. I'm sure there's ways they can find out, but if you don't know anything about it, you're not going to go look for it. Wish I could find some land that belonged to me. Goofy is good and okay. All right. So number 2, part 2 of this part, a year of release of servants and bond slaves. The priests were chosen. Yeah, the priests were chosen from the Levites. That's why it's holy. That's why they're different. That's why they were set apart. They had to do everything differently. They had to dress differently. They had to act different. They were just different. And that's why I wonder why so many preachers... Let me just not talk about that. But you know, there's a lot of people who were supposed to be godly people that were preachers that were like over a congregation that have done so bad. Okay, let's not talk about it anymore. because that's something that it just really gets on my nerves. Let's see, where was I at? A year of release of servants and bond slaves. One, here is inserted a law for the kind usage of poor debtors. Leviticus 25, 35 through 38. I guess we're just going to go through the whole of Leviticus 25 today. There's just so much about harvest, though. This is just a tiny bit. And this is not even about harvest exactly. This is just about the land. And some of the rules for harvest, but the land, who it belongs to, which, like I said, it all belongs to God. But God did make provision for people to have property, to have what they are supposed to have. So, 35. If your brother becomes destitute and cannot sustain himself among you, you are to support him as a foreigner or temporary resident so that he can continue to live among you. Do not profit or take interest from him, but fear your God and let your brother live among you. Now, y'all know, I was looking at the only debt we have is our house. And I was looking at that, and recently there was something taken off that we don't have to pay anymore because we've paid a certain amount. Well, we went straight to the bank because we were like, why was this taken off? We've paid it for 9 years. What's going on? Was this a mistake? Because, banks make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But we wanted to make sure that this insurance, that we weren't going to go 6 months and then you'll have to pay all that because of their mistake. Turns out we've paid a certain amount, so it was dropped. But I said all that to say I look at our statement every single month. I look at it as soon as we get it, and then I look at it the day I pay the bill, the day I pay our house payment, because I have a certain, schedule for our bills. Well, I was sitting there showing Jeff, I said, the interest is more than the principal, which we pay more than our principal that we're supposed to pay. But I was like, this is insane that our interest is more than our principal. And if y'all look at your statements, most likely yours is too. And our interest rate is low. It's like 3.5 or something compared to others. But this is saying, in the Bible, is saying that you are not to charge interest to your brother. Now, I know family members that I've heard them loaning money to people, and they just, charge them interest. They charge them an extra $20 on 100 or something. I've heard people do that for years. I've never done it. I just don't see the point. And I don't know. Let's see. They took it off. Yeah, they took it off automatically. We were so happy. Oh, wow. You had to go. Okay. Well, another thing that really bothered me is right now, because of all the restrictions and all the things and all the stuff, there are no mortgage loan people in our banks. Not one. And we have several in our city, from several branches in our city, and there's not one. You have to do it over the phone. So the banker, she just called them, and she did it for us. She called them, and she sat there, and she was getting irritated because they were not answering her questions. And she said, this is just a simple question. We want to know, is this a mistake or not? It was so funny. But yeah, they took it off. I was surprised. I was like, I'm glad you ain't taking any more of my money for that. You can give me all of it back, and I'll pay on the principal. But anyways, where was I at? I'm getting off subject. See, y'all letting me do it. Y'all need to stop me. What verse was I even on? Let's see. I can find it. Okay. You are not to lend him your silver with interest or sell him food for profit. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and be your God, and to be your God. If your brother among you becomes destitute and sells himself to you, you must not force him to do slave labor. Now, I know that it's fine. I know that that Donna wants me to do a study on slavery in the Bible, and I do want to, but it's so hard. But this is a little bit of it. This is a little bit of it. But this says your brother can be your servant, can be your helper, like that, but do not treat him as a slave, not slave labor. Let him stay with you. There's a bug. As a hired hand or temporary resident, he may work for you until the year of Jubilee. So he will work. I mean, he might only work for a year because the year of Jubilee might be the next year. But he's working to the year of Jubilee. Then he and his children are to be released from you, and he may return to his clan and his ancestral property. They are not to be sold as slaves because they are my slaves that I brought out of the land of Egypt. You are not to rule over them harshly, but fear your God. Your male and female slaves are to be from the nations around you. You may purchase male and female slaves. Now, if you think back to whenever we studied Sarah, we know that Rahab was a slave. And I think she came from Egypt. I'm not sure. That's just my thought. So she wasn't part of the Israelites. Okay, you may also purchase them from the foreigners staying with you or from your families living among you, those born in your land. These may become your property. You may leave them to your sons after you inherit as property. You can make them slaves for life, but concerning your brothers, the Israelites, you must not rule over one another harshly. So I was supposed to go to, I went too far. Whoops. Or did I? Yeah, I went to 37 and no, I didn't. I might have went too far because I went on to the part where it says, then comes a law for the discharge. No, I did. I'm confused now. So let's go on to part 2. If sold to proselytes, I don't know what that word means. What is a proselyte? Do y'all know? Let me look that up. A proselyte is a person who has converted from one opinion, religion, or party to another. Okay, I know what it means now. Why didn't they just say a convert? A person who is converted from one religion to another. Okay, Leviticus 25:47 through 55. If a foreigner or temporary resident among you prospers, but your brother living near him becomes destitute and sells himself to a foreigner living among you or to a member of the foreigner's clan, he has a right of redemption after he has been sold. One of his brothers may redeem him. So in other words, his family member can pay his debt and redeem him, is what that's saying. His uncle or cousin may redeem him, or any of his close relatives from his clan may redeem him. If he prospers, he may redeem himself. The one who purchased him is to calculate the time from the year he sold himself to him until the year of Jubilee. The price of his sale will be determined by the number of years. It will be set for him like the daily wages of a hired hand. If many years are still left, he must pay his redemption price in proportion to them based on his purchase price. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, he will calculate and pay the price of his redemption in proportion to his remaining years. He will stay with him like a man hired year by year. A foreign owner is not to rule over him harshly in your sight. If he is not redeemed in any of these ways, he and his children are to be released at the year of Jubilee. For the Israelites are my slaves. They are my slaves that I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your God. So what God is saying is the Israelites always have a way out. They may have to wait 50 years, but they always have a way out. He always has a time of redemption, of harvest. And I wasn't planning on going through all that, but I'm kind of glad I did, because I remembered things that I have not read in a while. Because it's been a while since I read Leviticus. There's a whole lot in Leviticus, like rules and laws and all this stuff that can really boggle the mind. But if you really pay attention, it's simple. God's rules are really simple. They're not hard to follow. Mostly it's be good to others, do good to others, love others, take care of others, it's not hard to do. And honestly, my life now is easier than the life I lived before when I wasn't living for God. So, I mean, it's just not hard. And I got all these other things and I marked them and I don't even know. Maybe I'll use them next time. Who knows? But I did use all of the Matthew Henry part, but I'll probably go back to that. But that was Leviticus, and that was saying who, or Leviticus 25, and that's saying who the land belongs to. And I know that it's talking about the land that God gave to the people, but I think that that means any land, anything that God has given to Christians, given to us, as because this is Old Testament, and yes, things did change, but all the laws and things were different. But when Jesus came, but I feel like some of the things are still true, because if you are a child of God, you are His property, and He wants the best for you, and He wants you to reap a harvest. And I may not ever see anything, like, say I do something good for someone, I may never see how it affects their life. I may do something good for somebody and never see them again. And that might be a harvest that I've reaped that I don't even realize. Maybe I have planted for someone else. Maybe somebody who comes to this video, like after it's uploaded, and maybe comes because it says Bible study, and they might look at it and be one of those people who are just going to be like poking fun at it or whatever, or make fun of people or whatever, because maybe they're not a Christian. Maybe they don't like Christians. Maybe they've never came across a Christian who acts like a Christian. I sometimes don't act like a Christian. I mean, I think all of us do that sometimes. There's times where we all get a little fleshy. But we're all going to reap a harvest of some sort. It may be big. It may be small. It might be something like, I don't know. I believe, and I've thought about this a lot lately, there's a lot of people that I never, even though I have a YouTube channel, even though I watch other people on YouTube, if I had not participated in Fallon's Fall Food Friday last year, there are people that I would not have met. And honestly, like the way I met Val, okay, I met her because I had met Francis. I met Francis because I had met Tony. Now, Tony I met because of Fall Food Friday. So that harvest that Fallon had started, she planted a seed by doing this collab. And I know it's weird, but this is my thought process. I have met some true friends, 3 ladies that I have talked to lots because of her. Now, I know Carol has been commenting on my videos. I don't really know how she found me. I don't remember. I know Donna has. We've had conversations in emails. And it's like these little things that someone has done I'm harvesting friendships that I didn't have. That I'm harvesting fellowship because someone else planted that seed. Someone else put that there. I mean, if that makes sense. Does it even make sense? I don't know. This is the way my brain works, though. But I'm grateful for that little seed that someone planted so that I could harvest true friends, true people who, you know, like, and I don't know if he's still here, but Maple Cook. I don't know his real name, but I find his video very, oh, I forgot to say your Val. Yeah, but I don't know how he found my channel. He's from Canada. I love his channel. It's funny. He does, very serious but funny stuff. Oh, you were looking for a Bible study. Oh, okay. I'm not so great at it sometimes, but all these things that we harvest, somebody planted a seed. God had a plan. Um, and you know how sometimes you can plant something. Okay, let's say this wisteria. I love wisteria. I don't know if y'all all know what it is. I'm pretty sure you do. Beautiful, different color flowers. If it's according to which kind of vine you get. But if you plant this wisteria and you don't take care of it, it can kill everything else. It can kill trees. It can kill other plants. It can do all sorts of things. Or it can be a beautiful bush. It can be a beautiful vine. It can be a beautiful thing. So I believe that God has planted and cultivated people to gather around each other at certain times so that we can reap a harvest of, I mean, honestly, at this point in time, I don't have a church because ours closed permanently. It's gone. We have been praying about, Jeff and I, we were trying to figure it out. We've been praying about it. We don't have a direction of where we need to go. Our kids, they don't know where we need to go. They're like, I don't know, because it's like, okay, after all this shutdown goes away, we can go back to church. And we went back to church, and then it's gone. It's just gone. It's just gone. And I'm like, I don't understand this, but there's a reason for it. So in some ways, you guys have been my church fellowship. You have been my church. And maybe not just in the Bible study itself, but in other ways, like emails, messages, different things. So God is going to help you reap a harvest if you are planting good seed in good soil. And we have to take care of the soil. That's why I was going back to why I wanted to talk about the 6 years of planting and then 1 year of rest. We do need to rest. We do need to take care of our soil. And as I always say, we got to stay in this to keep our soil good. We've got to stay in this to stay in God's direction. Let's see. People are saying when things go back to normal, but things will never be normal for us again. Maybe our great grand. I don't think there is there's no normal. I don't think. I just don't think that there's going to be a normal. This is what it is now for now. I don't know. I've wondered, different times during all this, are we going to have another, like a Great Depression? Are things going to get that bad again? Honestly, we don't have many people who lived through that were adults. Are there anybody? Yeah, it's a cycle on the washing machine. Yeah. I don't know is there anybody that lived through the Great Depression that's still alive that was an adult? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't. Could there have been? I don't know. I know my no, can't be, because my granny it was before she had my daddy, and she was a child, so no, there's no way. You had to be pretty old to have been an adult. Yeah, not possible. So we don't know. Yeah, we've got history books. Yeah, we've got things, passed down. But do we really know how to live in that kind of situation where that we are living off so little? Do people do they know how to cook? Do they know how to grow things? Do they know how to sew? Most of the time, people know how to go to the grocery store and get their things, or go to this place and get their things, or order off Amazon, or those. A lot of skills have been lost. And I've wondered, is all that going to happen again? Are we going to go back to that kind of situation? I don't know. I honestly think that if we did, we might be okay as a family because we do know skills and stuff. But then again, we live in the city. We don't even have anywhere to raise anything except a few chickens. And If something like that happened, it'd be hard to get chickens. And then we live in the city. Somebody must steal our chickens, you know? I don't know. It's crazy, but I know that I've heard people say you reap what you harvest. I mean, you reap what you sow and all this stuff, and it is true. But sometimes, like, perfect example, David and Judy. They're wonderful Christian people. They didn't sow anything to cause their baby to be sick. So that's really something that I don't like. Teach us how to farm. Well, Jeff actually worked on farms as a teenager and on in his 20s. He knows how to do all kinds of stuff. But I know how to grow plants and stuff. It's just you gotta figure out which soil you have and how it works. But I have a lot of books about it too. So anyway, I guess that's what I want to talk about today. Harvest has just really been on my mind. I have a feeling that we'll be continuing next week, not in Leviticus 25 because we read all that, but I feel like there's a lot going on that is bad that we are actually not as individuals doing. We're not doing them. Yeah, a lot of skills are coming back. A lot of people are trying to learn things because they're seeing things are not so great. And maybe it's that time to harvest, maybe it's that time for how long has it been since the Great Depression? It's not that many years, honestly. But I feel like as long as we are staying in God's word, as long as we are doing what he says, I think we'll be okay. It may not be perfect, but we'll be okay. It may not be everything that you want, but it'll be okay. Yeah, it ended in 39. I was thinking it was something like that because my daddy was born in 42 and my granny was, how old was she whenever she had him? I want to say she was 18 or 19. So she was a teenager whenever it ended. She lived through it. And there was a lot of those kids too. But yes, definitely, Donna. We've been praying for your husband, for you, for all the things going on with you guys. Maybe I should start doing like a prayer list, like whenever we do this, like if anybody, that way we can write it down and pray for each other. But anyway, I'm gonna go. Jeff will be home soon. Yep, he'll be home soon. And I hope you got something from this. I got something from it, even if nobody else did. That sounds horrible. But thank you all for coming, and I do hope you get, enjoyed it, got something from it. I don't know, something. And I will see you next time. Remember, don't take any wooden nickels, and be sweet.